Have on the phone former West Indies fast bowler, legendary cricketer, and the one of the most popular cricket commentators in the world, Michael Holding. Mikey, thank you very much for your time today.
My pleasure, Sergeant. Thanks for the compliments. I didn't know I was all that.
Mikey, we've categorised the questions into 4 or 5 different areas, and as I said to you before, we could have done this interview over the course of about 12 hours. We got hundreds and hundreds of questions. People obviously really interested in your career and your thoughts about cricket. Just about your own career, starting off with that, Mikey. What was the best and the toughest batsman that you ever played against?
It's difficult for me to nominate one batsman because I played against so many great players in my 12 years of Test match cricket. I could go through different continents and name different batsmen that were tough. The two Chappells in Australia initially when I first started, they were easy batsmen to bowl at, and of course later on in my career to bowl to people like Alan Vaughan again from Australia. If you start going on to the Asian subcontinent, I started off bowling against people like Sunil Gavaskar. The people like that are not used to bowl to. And then if you think about Pakistan, in my time you have people like Majid Khan and Zahir Abbas and Javed Mian that although I never played Test cricket against Pakistan, I played a lot of one-day cricket against them, and of course bowling to people like that was never easy. Then if you start thinking about England now, early days you had to bowl to people like Jeffrey Boycott, tough batsmen to bowl to get out. Not someone that would embarrass you by hitting you around the park, but just difficult to get out. And of course later on you have people like Graham Gooch and David Gower. So there are a lot of great batsmen that I bowled to at different stages of my career.
Mikey, you played in an era where the speed gun wasn't around, and obviously these days we're seeing bowlers clocking 150 kilometres per hour. I mean, how fast do you think you were at your peak?
I don't know, and I don't really care. I'm not going to be getting into the competition with anyone as to how fast I was or how fast anyone is today. I leave that to other people who have witnesses to all this to argue amongst themselves. I wouldn't get involved in all that.
Mikey, you retired at the age of 33. Now, the modern-day fast bowler, 33 is quite young to retire at that age. Why did you retire at 33?
I retired at 33 because I had enough. I had played 12 years of Test cricket. I had bowled fast for all those 12 years, and I had a very successful career. I didn't need to carry on. I was starting to get a few niggling injuries, and as a matter of fact, it was an injury that decided exactly when I retired from New Zealand. I got a slight injury in Wellington. I think it wasn't anything serious, but it would have kept me out of the rest of the Test matches. And I decided, well, it was only one-day game that would be available to me after that, the Test series. I was really interested in playing in a one-day series. I thought it was just an ideal time to go out. I enjoyed the time that I had there. I had played in a great team. We won a lot. And you can't play forever, such.
Yeah.
At 33, I think fast bowlers, I'm not talking about medium bases, I'm talking about people who really bowl fast. I think at 33 you start to decline as far as pace is concerned. Yes, you are skillful and you get a great deal of experience and you're very experienced at that stage, but your pace starts to decline. And all factors considered, I thought good time to leave.
Mikey, all cricketers have their favourite grounds, their favourite countries to tour. What was your favourite ground around the world?
My favourite country to tour was Australia. I love to play cricket in Australia. Everything about Australia excited me. The lifestyle in Australia, the pitches that you played on in Australia, the weather conditions in Australia, the team that you played against, the strength of character and the fighting spirit in the team. All those factors made me want to tour Australia and enjoy touring Australia. The quickest pitch in the world in my time was in Australia as well, in Perth. And certainly, as a fast bowler, you want to be bowling on pitches that really suit your type of bowling. Australia had Perth, they had other pitches that suited fast bowling. And so it was always going to be Australia for me. I enjoyed playing in England as well because in my entire career, I never lost a Test match, much less a Test series to England. And you will always enjoy winning. But I certainly not just enjoy winning, I enjoy the competition we got when we got to Australia.
Mikey, you've had some fantastic moments in your career with the West Indies side, a very, very successful team. What were the high points, and perhaps you could talk about some of the low points as well?
Well, my high point, again, had to do with Australia. It was when we beat Australia in Australia for the very first time in 1979-80. That West Indies team that beat them down there was the first West Indies team to ever beat Australia in Australia. And you can't beat first. When you have done something for the very first time, it feels good, and you can't beat that. If you're talking about now low points, there's nothing lower than losing the World Cup in 1983. That was a disaster, and we should have won the World Cup in 1983, but those are the high and low points as far as I am concerned.
Mikey, we see a lot of former cricketers, some former greats going into the coaching circuit. I know you've got a very successful career in cricket commentary. Ever thought about or ever been tempted to go into coaching?
Never such, never. My mother was a teacher, but I didn't get her for teaching or for coaching. I don't have the patience to coach. I have helped out a lot of cricketers from all over the world, different fast bowlers and different cricketers, not just fast bowlers, who have come to me and sought my advice. And I've been into the nets with some of the West Indian cricketers and fast bowlers in particular, and upon advice in that regard as well. But I could not see myself coaching professionally. I couldn't do that as a job because, as I said, I just haven't got the patience.
Very honest answer there, Mikey. Mikey, moving on to West Indies cricket. I think all cricket lovers around the world will always have a soft spot for the West Indies cricket, their brand of cricket, the way they approach the game. Why do you think the West Indies are in decline at the moment?
Well, the West Indies are in decline at the moment for quite a few different reasons. The major reason is lack of infrastructure and lack of planning by the West Indies and the people who run the game in the Caribbean. We beat the rest of the world for a very long time based purely on ability and some hard work. The rest of the world caught up with us by planning, by getting a lot more scientific, and we stood still. We never got to that level. When people were walking around with computers, we were still walking around with a scorebook and a pen. And of course, if you don't have the planning, if you don't have the infrastructure in place, people will just fly past you. Even in business, if you have a successful business and you stand still and you think, oh, my business is successful, I don't have to be innovative, I just keep on doing what I'm doing, that business will soon fail. And that is where the West Indies fell down. We can still try and catch up. We can still try and put things in place now to make sure that we can catch up. But what we need is a functioning board, a competent functioning board that can organize things and get us moving again. And at the moment, I don't think we have that.
Mikey, we see a lot of fast bowlers from the West Indies pop up for a season or two, couple of years, and everybody's raving about them. But guys like yourself, Malcolm Marshall, you did the hard graft over a long period. Why is it that so many of the West Indies fast bowlers, the likes of Jerome Taylor, Fidel Edwards, we see them doing very well for a season or two and then they seem to disappear off the scene?
They don't disappear as such, they get injured. A lot of the fast bowlers, not just West Indies fast bowlers, get injured on a regular basis these days because of the amount of cricket that they play. Look around the world right now and tell me the number of fast bowlers that are playing Test cricket. You can count them on one hand. As a matter of fact, you can count them on one hand and have fingers left. They get injured because you cannot bowl fast for the length of time that the ICC and different boards around the world are asking you to bowl fast. Brett Lee's a young man. He retired from Test match cricket because he could not take the strain. He's playing the shorter form of the game and playing it quite successfully. Sean Tate, well, he retired as before Brett Lee, and I think he might be even younger than Brett Lee. Look around the world. How many fast bowlers are really left? Shane Bond, he was constantly on and off the field. And when I say fast bowlers, I'm not talking about people who bowl 80 miles an hour. Those are not fast bowlers. I'm talking about people who push 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Jerome Taylor Fidel was pushed 90 miles an hour on a regular basis, but they are not big, strong, powerful men. So they get injured. They are right now playing cricket again in the Caribbean, working their way back.
Mikey, your thoughts on Kemar Roach, who had that fantastic performance the other day? I mean, do you think he's got it in him, the technical ability and also fitness-wise, as you mentioned there? Do you think he's got it in him to be sort of a household name in a few years' time?
Well, he's 22 years old, Saji. He has a lot to learn. No one at 22 years old knows everything. But he certainly has started well. Again, he will need some help around him. What we'll be hoping in the Caribbean is that Jerome Taylor and Fidel Edwards come back quickly to take some of that strain off Kemar Roach. He can't be the only fast bowler in the team. He can't be the only man to take on the brunt of the attack. So one would hope that he will get some help around him, and certainly when those guys come back, we'll have a nice potent bowling attack, and that will certainly help his development, help him to remain fit and strong at the last a few years.
Mikey, Kieran Pollard is one of those cricketers that everybody enjoys watching him play 20-over cricket or the occasional explosive 50-over innings. Your take on this brand of cricketer who seems to be sort of one or two of these types of explosive batsmen in every team at the moment. What are your thoughts on Kieran Pollard?
Well, you used the right word there, such the occasional performance from Kieran Pollard in the longer form of the game. What Kieran Pollard does on a regular basis in 2020 cricket will work in that form of the game. Is 20 overs. A batsman goes out there and faces 30 balls against 55 runs. That is fantastic in 20-over cricket. Not so good in the longer form of the game. Kieran Pollard came good against the Netherlands. One would hope that is the beginning of him now coming good in the longer form of the game, in the 50-over form of the game, because that is what the West Indies need from him. West Indies don't need someone to go out there and to bat for 20 balls or 25 balls. They need someone to last a lot longer than that. And that hopefully will be what he will do in not too distant future. He has played something like 34 one-day internationals, and everybody is saying, oh, he's such a fantastic talent. You cannot play 34 one-day internationals, be a fantastic talent, and only get 2 half centuries and average 19. That is not production.
Mikey, you mentioned about the infrastructure and the administration of West Indies cricket is holding it back at the moment. Now, what are your thoughts on the general passion? Is the love of the game still there in the Caribbean? Do fans still, get behind their team? Is cricket still the number one sport in the Caribbean at the moment, or has football taken over?
Cricket was never ever the number one sport in the Caribbean.
Right.
Football has always been the number one sport as far as people participation is concerned. Cricket is envisioned, and people look upon cricket as the number one sport wrongly because of the fact that we play cricket as the West Indies. Every island comes together and has one team, so the entire Caribbean is bonded behind this one team. But if you think of the number of people that play sports in the Caribbean and the number of people that play football, it is the number one participation sport. What we need to do in the Caribbean is to get the youngsters interested in the game again. What you said is right. Not as many people are interested in cricket as they were before. The pollsters are, the fans. If the West Indies win a test match or win a game, everyone can tell you about it, because whether they tell you or not, they are interested in what's going on, and they are secretly hoping that the West Indies will come back. But those are the fans. What we need are the people who will actually be going out onto the field to be interested in the sport and to want to play the sport. The youngsters. We need to get the young cricketers in the Caribbean, or the youngsters in the Caribbean, playing cricket again. And for that, we need some sort of infrastructure. We need to make sure that the game is easily accessible to all the youngsters, because it's an expensive game, it's a time-consuming game. There are a lot of other things for them to do, and we need to get them back into the game. We can't wait on them to be interested and trying to find out about the game and wanting to go and play the game. We have to make the game easily accessible to them.
Mikey, moving on to the topic of fast bowling in general around the world, rather than just the West Indies, I mean, which fast bowlers have impressed you? There's been so many greats over the years. What about some of the more recent fast bowlers? Which ones have you been impressed with?
Well, there's only one right now, Dale Steyn. He's the only fast bowler in the world playing test match cricket right now. That's impressive. The rest of them are injured, they're not playing on a regular basis, or have retired. Look around the world right now, and again, when I say fast bowler, I'm not talking about people who run from 40 yards or 30 yards. I'm talking about people who are bowling close to 90 miles an hour. That's what I call a fast bowler.
Yeah.
There are many around the world right now. Dale Steyn is the only one that bowls at that pace and can maintain that pace on a regular basis and produces.
But Mikey, I mean, going back 10, 15, 20 years, every side seemed to have, or the top side seemed to have 90-mile-an-hour bowlers playing Test cricket. What's happened now? I mean, you're mentioning about injuries and these guys wanting to play 20-over cricket or 50-over cricket. Why is it that so many fast bowlers are not sticking to Test cricket?
Because of the workload, as I said before. The workload. You cannot ask people to play so much cricket as a fast bowler and to maintain their enthusiasm and fitness and vigor. It is impossible.
But do you think then, Mikey, that the easy option for these guys is to opt out of Test cricket and just play 20-over cricket or 50-over cricket then?
It is. Look at Brett Lee. I made mention of him specifically because of that. Brett Lee can still play Test cricket, but the easy option is to cut down on the amount of cricket that you play. Play the shorter forms, and especially with the IPL I'm playing 20 over cricket. If I was a